Hey, CrazyBYT crew, get ready for a mind-blowing deep dive. I'm Bindu, your curious host, and today we're tackling one burning question. How does ChatGPT actually work in detail? We're peeling back the curtain on this AI superstar in a way anyone can understand, no tech degree needed.
Hi, I'm Thrishul, ready to break it all down. We're diving deep into ChatGPT's secrets, answering that big question with epic stories and simple explanations that'll keep you hooked. From its brainy word tricks to its magical responses, this podcast is your ticket to understanding AI like never before.
Oh, that's right, Thrishul. You're about to spill it all. We're exploring every nook and cranny of how ChatGPT works, with fun examples that'll make you say, whoa. So stick with us for a wild ride into artificial intelligence that'll leave you amazed till the very end. All right, Thrishul. First question. How did ChatGPT learn to speak the world's language? How does this thing get so good at talking?
Long ago, in a digital realm, ChatGPT wasn't born knowing how to chat. It started as a blank slate, created by a group of clever folks at OpenAI. They decided to train this librarian by feeding it an enormous pile of texts. Think of it as giving ChatGPT a never-ending buffet of words from websites, books, forums, and even movie scripts. This feast was massive, 45 terabytes of text, equivalent to millions of books.
Whoa, 45 terabytes? That's like a library bigger than my entire hometown. So what's it doing with all that text?
During this phase, called pre-training, ChatGPT wasn't just reading, it was learning patterns. It noticed how words fit together, how sentences form ideas, and how questions lead to answers. Imagine it like a child learning to speak by listening to everyone around them. If you've ever heard someone say, "The sun sets slowly behind the mountain," ChatGPT learned that sun and sets often go together, and slowly adds a poetic touch.
Oh, I love that. It's like ChatGPT's eavesdropping on every conversation ever. Give me an example of how it uses those patterns.
Here's an example. If you gave ChatGPT the sentence starter, "the cat sat on the," it would predict math because it's seen that phrase countless times. But it also learned fancier patterns, like how to explain quantum physics or write a pirate story. This pre-training is like ChatGPT memorizing the rhythm of human language without knowing exactly what you'll ask.
That's wild. Okay, next. What's the secret magic behind ChatGPT's word weaving? How does it turn my questions into such smooth answers?
Now ChatGPT isn't just a memory bank. It has a special tool called a transformer, which is like a magical loom that weaves words into coherent responses. Think of the transformer as a master storyteller who takes your question, breaks it into tiny pieces called tokens, and then decides how those pieces fit together to form an answer.
A magical loom? That sounds so cool. So, how does it actually weave those words together?
Let's say you ask, "Why do stars twinkle?" The transformer doesn't just grab a random fact. It first chops your question into tokens. Why do stars twinkle? Each token gets turned into a number, like a secret code, and then into a vector, a kind of mathematical fingerprint that captures the word's meaning and its relationship to other words. For example, stars might be linked to sky, night, and shine in its vector world.
Okay, vectors sound fancy, but I'm picturing a word map in its brain. What happens next?
The transformer then uses something called self-attention to figure out which words matter most. In "Why Do Stars Twinkle?" it might focus on stars and twinkle to understand you're asking about a specific phenomenon. It's like the librarian scanning the library shelves, picking out only the most relevant books to craft an answer. Stars twinkle because their light passes through layers of Earth's atmosphere, which bends and scatters the light, making them seem to flicker. This answer feels human because the transformer learned to mimic the patterns of human writing.
That's like pure wizardry, but how does it know what's actually helpful? How do humans make ChatGPT's answers so helpful?
But ChatGPT wasn't perfect after pre-training. Sometimes it would ramble or give odd answers, like suggesting a recipe for moon dust soup when asked about space. To make it more helpful, OpenAI brought in human trainers, like wise mentors guiding a young apprentice. This process is called reinforcement learning from human feedback, RLHF.
Moon dust soup? That's hilarious, but definitely not helpful. So, how did those human trainers fix that?
Here's how it worked. Humans gave ChatGPT prompts and rated its responses. For example, if someone asked, write a funny poem about a dog, ChatGPT might churn out a few versions. One might be dull, another hilarious. Humans would rank the hilarious one higher, teaching ChatGPT to prioritize witty, engaging replies. Over time, this feedback shaped ChatGPT into a conversational wizard, able to answer with clarity and charm.
I bet those trainers had fun reading all those poems. Can you share an example of how this made ChatGPT better?
Imagine you ask, tell me a joke. Without RLHF, ChatGPT might say something flat, like, why is the sky blue? Because it is. With RLHF, it might respond, why did the scarecrow become a motivational speaker? Because he was outstanding in his field. The human feedback helped ChatGPT learn what makes people smile.
Okay, that joke got me. Let's see the process in action. How does ChatGPT dance through your questions to answer?
When you type a question, ChatGPT performs a dance of steps to respond. Let's break it down with an example. You ask, can you help me plan a trip to Paris? 1. Input. Your question enters the library of infinite words. 2. Tokenization. The question is split into tokens. Can you help me plan a trip to Paris? 3. Embedding. Each token becomes a vector, capturing its meaning and context. Paris might be linked to France, Eiffel Tower, and romantic. 4. Transformer magic. The transformer processes these vectors, using its billions of connections, called parameters, to predict the next words. It might start with, planning a trip to Paris is exciting, and continue building a response, pulling from its vast knowledge. 5. Output. ChatGPT delivers a response like, start with the Eiffel Tower for a classic view, then stroll along the Seine. Want tips for cafes or museums? It feels natural because it's predicting words based on patterns it's seen millions of times.
That's like a dance party in its brain. How fast does all this happen, Thrishul?
This process happens in milliseconds, making ChatGPT feel like a friend who's always ready to chat.
So speedy, but it's not perfect, right? Why isn't ChatGPT the perfect know it all?
Despite its brilliance, ChatGPT isn't flawless. It's like a librarian who knows a lot, but sometimes misremembers or gets creative with facts. Since it's trained on human texts, it can pick up biases or errors. For example, if asked, who's the best singer ever? It might say, many consider Beyoncé the best for her vocal range and impact, but it's just reflecting what's common in its data, not an absolute truth.
So it's pulling from what people say online? That makes sense, but what else can go wrong?
It also doesn't think like humans. It predicts words, not feelings or logic. If you ask, what's the smell of rain like? It might describe it poetically, like fresh earth and cool mist, based on patterns. But it's never smelled rain itself. And if you ask about events after 2021, it might struggle unless it's been updated with new info.
That's so interesting. It's super smart, but not human. What about when it just makes stuff up?
Sometimes it hallucinates, making up facts. For instance, if you ask, who won the 2025 World Cup? It might invent a winner since it doesn't have real-time data, unless it's been upgraded to search the web, which newer versions can do.
Inventing World Cup winners? That's wild. Okay, what's coming up? What's next for ChatGPT's ever learning library?
ChatGPT's story doesn't end here. It's constantly evolving, with new versions like GPT 4.0 that can handle images, audio, and more complex tasks. Imagine asking, show me a picture of a Parisian cafe, and ChatGPT describing one vividly, or even generating an image if it's connected to tools like DALL-E.
Ooh, I'd love a virtual tour of a Parisian cafe. Is it getting smarter in other ways too?
It's also learning to be safer. OpenAI uses filters to block harmful or offensive content, though it's not perfect. For example, if you ask, how do I break into a house? ChatGPT is trained to say, I can't help with that. It's illegal and unsafe, steering you toward better questions.
Smart and ethical? I'm impressed. Let's see it in action. How does ChatGPT craft a dragon's baking story from scratch?
Let's say you ask ChatGPT, write a story about a dragon who loves to bake. Here's what happens behind the scenes. Pre-training. ChatGPT draws on its knowledge of dragons from fantasy books and baking from recipes and blogs. Transformer. It weaves a tale, starting with once upon a time, a dragon named Ember loved baking cookies in her fiery cave. RLHF. It adds humor and warmth, like Ember's cookies were so good, even knights stopped fighting to try them. Because humans rated such responses highly. Output, you get a delightful story, crafted in seconds, that feels like it was written just for you.
I can just imagine those knights munching cookies. That's so charming. Final question. Why does chatting with ChatGPT feel like pure magic?
ChatGPT feels magical because it turns the chaos of human language into coherent, helpful responses. It's not a person, but a super smart librarian who's read almost everything and learned to mimic how we talk. By combining a massive text feast, a Transformer's word weaving, Rosie's eyes widened, her heart racing with excitement as she gazed at the ancient book, its pages glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. She knew this was no ordinary text. It was a grimoire, a book of magic, pulsing with secrets of the universe. Her fingers trembled as she reached for it, knowing this moment could change everything.
Oh, that grimoire bit gave me chills. So it's like a magical storyteller, but not quite human?
But that's a story for another time. For now, ChatGPT's tale is one of a digital librarian trained on a cosmic library, weaving words with a transformer's magic, refined by human wisdom, and ready to answer your questions with a spark of brilliance. Just don't ask it to smell the rain or predict the future, unless you're ready for a bit of creative fiction.
I love that image, a librarian spinning stories like magic. So, what should we keep in mind when we chat with it?
So next time you chat with ChatGPT, picture that magical library with its endless shelves and a librarian who's always learning, ready to spin a story, solve a problem, or share a joke just for you. What will you ask it next?
And there you have it, folks. The mind blowing magic of ChatGPT unraveled like never before. From its word weaving transformer to its epic training in the library of infinite words, we've just scratched the surface of what makes this AI a game changer. If you love this wild ride into the world of artificial intelligence, smash that like button to let us know, and don't forget to subscribe to CrazyBYT for more jaw-dropping tech adventures. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a video, and tell us in the comments what crazy question would you ask ChatGPT. Until next time, keep exploring the future with us.